So we're going to go ahead and get started with this. I'm sorry, y'all. There's like 18 different things I have to do as far as online stuff. So sometimes I'm just trying to figure out how to do it. Okay, so on page 1, we're looking at the distributive property. So what we're starting with this semester is we're going to go through some stuff that people from last semester who were in Algebra 1 last semester probably missed. So, if you were in fall semester, you probably already seen all of this, and but we've got to go through it for the people who missed it. So first thing, distributive property. So when you distribute, that means you're going to take, when you're multiplying something by a binomial, you'll take what's outside and distribute it inside. So on this first one, you have 3 times x and 3 times 2. Multiply those and you get 3x plus 6. So on B, we're going to take 2 times r, and we're going to have 2 times negative 4. And on your packet, that should be positive right there. So if it's not, change that to a plus. Okay, and then you have 2 times r, which is just 2r. And then 2 times negative 4 gives you negative 8. So your answer is 2r minus 8. Then on C, the n that you're multiplying is at the back. That doesn't really change anything, but if you want to rewrite it so that it's at the front, you can. But still, you're just going to multiply the n times the n and the n times the 6. So n times n times 6. Well, what's n times n give you?
N squared.
N squared. And then n times 6 gives you 6n. Okay. So on example 1, so before I go to example 1, when you're writing your answers like this, I want them to be in standard form, which means that it goes from highest exponent to lowest, and then your constant number. So like highest exponent, constant, highest exponent, next lowest, then constant. So make sure it's in standard form, highest to lowest exponents. So here, number 1, we've got 2 times x. What's 2 times x?
2x.
And then what's 2 times 3?
6.
So we'd have 2x plus 6, and that's already in standard form. So we can leave it like it is. Okay, number 2, the 8's at the back, but we're still just going to distribute it like normal. What's 8 times 2?
16.
And then 8 times negative n?
Negative 8.
Negative 8n. Is that in standard form? Our variables have to come first. So when I rewrite it in standard form, what's it going to be?
It changes the signs.
So the signs don't technically change, but they do move with that number. So like I'll move that negative 8n to the front and then put plus 16. So make sure you keep the sign with what it's attached to. Okay, go ahead and try 3 through 6. Okay, so looking at number 3, what did y'all get?
4y plus 8.
4y plus 8. And that's already in standard form, so you didn't have to do anything. Now, when you multiply through on number 4, you'd get 24 minus 6x, right? Is that in standard form? No. So what is it in standard form? Yes. Okay. And what y'all get for number 5? Yes. So n squared, or n to the power of 2, minus 9n. And then on number 6, what y'all get?
3n squared minus 15n.
Yes. Okay, anybody got any questions so far? Okay, so at the bottom of that page, we're looking at ones that have negatives being distributed inside of it. So when you have like a minus 2 out here, you have to take that sign and the number when you distribute. So I'd have negative 2 times x and negative 2 times 7. And then just make sure you distribute the negative as well. So here on number 7, we've got negative 5 times n, and then negative 5 times 4. Got to do 5 times 4. Negative 20. Okay, now on number 8, you just have the negative inside, and that's like multiplying by a negative 1 like I did on E. Or you could just say you're distributing the negative, which means you change all the signs within the parentheses. So I'm going to change the sign of the 4 and the sign of the y. So I'll have negative 4, positive y. Yes, you can. And then when you put it in standard form, you'd have y minus 4. Okay, then on number 9, negative 3m times m gives you negative 3m squared. And then negative 3m times negative 5. Negative times negative gives you a positive. So positive 15m. Okay, go ahead and try those last 3. Be careful with number 12 with that fraction. Okay. So looking at number 10, what y'all get?
Negative
Negative a squared minus 3a. So if you got negative 3a minus a squared, just make sure you put it in standard form, which is negative a squared minus 3a. Okay, number 11, you're distributing that negative. So what's my answer going to be? Negative 2x plus 11. Okay, and number 12, you're going to distribute that negative and you're going to distribute the 1/2. So when I distribute the negative 1/2 here, negative times a positive gives me a negative. And then what's 1/2 times 2? It's half of 2. 1. You don't have to put that 1, I'm just writing it there. And then negative times a negative gives us a positive. Yes, so half of 4 is 2. So you have negative x plus 2. Again, you don't have to write that 1 if you don't want to. Okay, any questions so far? Anybody need to go to the bathroom? Okay, so our inverse operations, remember inverse operations are the opposite of an operation. It's what undoes another operation. So if we're looking at addition, what undoes addition? Subtraction. So anytime you want to undo subtraction, you're going to use addition. To undo addition, you'll do subtraction. Then multiplication, what undoes multiplication? Division. And multiplication undoes division, division undoes multiplication. And then when you have something squared, what undoes a squared? Square root. Glad y'all knew that. A lot of people didn't know that yesterday. Forgot what a square root was. Okay, so down at the bottom we have different examples using those inverse operations, and we use inverse operations to solve for a variable. So on A we're going to solve for x. So we need to isolate this x term. So that means we need to move everything away from it. How will I move this 4? Subtract it. And what I do to one side I have to do to the other. So I'll subtract 4 from both sides. That cancels to 0. Then I'll have x on this left side. And then what's 2 minus 4? Negative 2. Now on B, I need to isolate this x term. So I need to move what? What am I going to move? The negative 5. How am I going to do that? By adding 5 to both sides. So those cancel to 0. Bring down your x. And then 3 plus 5 gives you 8. Okay, on C, we need to isolate the x. But we have negative 2 times x. And then nothing's added to it. So since nothing's added or subtracted, we can't use those as inverse operations. So since we're multiplying the negative 2, what are we going to do to move it? We're going to divide both sides by negative 2. Make sure you take that negative with it. You don't want a negative on the x. Okay, so what is 8 divided by negative 2? Negative 4. Okay, now x is being divided by 3 on D, so what am I going to do to both sides? Multiply the 3. Those 3's cancel to 1. I have x equals, 7 times 3? Okay, and then I have x squared equals 16. So how will I undo that squared? Take the square root. So square root cancels the square. bring down the x. And anytime you take a square root, you're getting out a positive and a negative solution, so make sure you put plus minus. And then what's the square root of 16? 4. And then to undo a square root to get rid of the house, you'll square both sides. Square cancels the house, so bring down the x. And then what's 6 squared? 36. Okay. So, looking at page 3. So that first one's just a one-step equation. All you have to do is subtract the 14 over to the right-hand side, and you'll get x equals negative 14. Number 2 is a two-step equation. First thing you do is move the negative 13 over by adding it, and then you have to move that negative off the x, which I divide by negative 1. Some of y'all have probably seen it as multiplying both sides by negative 1. Which I normally write this if I have to, but if you're used to multiplying the negative 1 off, then you do that, okay? So on number 3, that's a one-step equation. What's my one step I have to do to isolate that y? Add the 10. So I have y equals what? 7. Number 4 is a one step. What do I have to do to get that x alone? Add 2 to both sides. And I get x equals what? Okay. Number 5 is also a one step. What do I have to do? What's my one step? Divide by 8. So what does y equal? What's 144 divided by 8? Okay. Number 6 is a two-step equation. So be careful with that. So before we can do anything with this top part, what do I have to do to both sides? I've got to get rid of that 8 on the bottom before I can do anything. So I'm going to multiply. So 8 times 1 gives me 8. And then I'm going to have it equals 1 plus x. That was my first step. Now I've got my second step. What do I need to do to both sides? Subtract 1. So those cancel. Bring down the x. And what's 8 minus 1? 7. Okay. So number 7 shows you a different kind, one where you have to distribute before you can do anything else. So I like to distribute first sometimes. So like one like this, you could distribute, or you could divide that 2 off first. Since it's just the binomial being multiplied by a number, and there's nothing added outside the parentheses, you could go ahead and divide the 2 to both sides, but it won't always work like that. So there's not an example on this page, but like one that has like a plus 7 out back here. You wouldn't want to divide that 2 off first, because then you'd have to divide the 7 by the 2 and that by 2. So that's why I suggest you distribute first before you do anything. So on number 9, going to distribute that 9. What's 9 times 9?
81.
9 times n,
90.
and then that equals 234. So now, with that, what do I need to do? Subtract 81. So I have 9n equals what? And then what's my last step? Divide by 9. So n equals 17. Okay, number 10, what's my first step?
Add 3.
Add 3 to both sides. So negative 5 minus 3 gives me negative 2. Then negative 3 plus 3 cancels. Bring down the r over 6. Now what do I need to do to solve? Multiply by 6. So I'm going to multiply the negative 2 by the 6. So 6 times negative 2 gives me negative 12 equals r. Okay. Let's look at number 12. So number 12, I have 85 equals negative 2 times 6m minus 3 minus 5. So my first step I need to do is to distribute. I'm going to distribute that negative 2. So I'm going to bring down that 85. And then negative 2 times 6m is negative 12m. And negative 2 times negative 3 gives me positive 3. Not positive 3, positive 6. And then bring down that minus 5. So now at this step, I distributed, now I want to combine like terms. So I'm going to combine the 6 and the 5 first. Bring down the 85, bring down the negative 12m. And then what's 6 minus 5?
1.
1. So now I've combined like terms. Now I can do inverse operations. What's my first inverse operation I'm going to do? Subtracting 1 from both sides. So 85 minus 1 gives me 84. Then I'm going to bring down that negative 12m.
Teachers, excuse the interruption. Sage, move to the office.
Okay. And now what's my last step? Divide by negative 12. What's 84 divided by negative 12? Negative 7. Okay, I'm going to skip number 14, but if you want to go back and do it later, it is x equals 4. I'm going to skip 15 as well. And that one is r equals 5. So I'm giving you the answers so you can go back and try them and check yourself. Now on number 17, we've got something different. So look at 16. So on 16, we have a letter over here, and we have a letter over here. We have a letter on both sides. So when we have variables on both sides, we're going to do what I call letters to the left. And it's just a way to remember that you have to have letters to the left, numbers to the right. Letters on one side, numbers on the other. So first we're going to start off with, we've got to distribute. So I'm going to distribute that 7. Bring down the x minus 6. What's 7 times negative 6x?
Negative 42. No.
Yep, negative 42x. And then 7 times negative 7,
49.
negative 49. So now we've distributed and everything's combined. So now we can do inverse operations. Inverse operations we need to move letters to the left. So in order to move letters to the left, I have to move this to the left. So what am I going to do to both sides? I'm going to add 42x. Okay. So x plus 42x gives you 43x. Bring down the negative 6 and bring down the negative 49. Now what's my next step?
Add 6.
Add 6 to both sides. Bring down 43x. And then negative 49 plus 6 gives you negative 43. And my last step is going to be divide both sides by 43. And I'll get x equals negative 1. Make sure you carry that negative down with it. Okay, I'm not going to do 18 for the sake of time, but 18 is x equals negative 7. Okay, now on number 19. Notice we have an extra k out here, so there's technically three variables in there. 3 of the same. So we're still going to treat it like normal. First, we're going to distribute. So distribute that 5 first. So 5 times negative 3, negative 15. 5 times 2k is 10k. 10k. Then bring down that 7k. And bring down the 5k plus 33. So now somebody tell me what we have to do before we start doing inverse operations. Combine like terms. Add that 10k and the 7k. Bring down negative 15. 10k plus 7k gives us 17k. Bring down the 5k plus 33. Okay, now I want to do letters to the left, numbers to the right. So right now, I'm about to do 2 steps at one time, but don't let it confuse you. You can still do it in 2 different spots, but I'm going to show you how I normally write it so you'll know when I'm doing it what I'm doing. So I know I have to do letters to the left. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract my 5k from both sides. Okay, so I have 17k minus 5k gives me 12k. So before I move on to another step and bring other things down, I went letters to the left. I only want one thing over here, so I need to move something over here. So I'm going to add 15 to both sides so that this one cancels, and then I have 33 plus 15, which is 48. And again, you can write the purple as one step and then write the orange, yellow as another step. That's up to you. But most of the time when I'm teaching, this is how I'll write it. Okay, and then my last step is to divide by 12. And I'll get k equals Anybody got that one? 4. Okay. And then if you want to do 19 on your own, it does equal 5. So we're going to do a ticket out the door real quick. So go ahead and get out a piece of paper real fast. And I want y'all to do these problems real quick. So write your name on it, write ticket out the door. When you get done with it, put it on the box on the bookshelf. If you need a piece of paper, I can give you one. But just do these 2 problems real quick. And then when you get done, turn it in the basket, and we will be done for the day.